going on, traders? Happy Tuesday. I hope you guys all had an amazing day, but I'm gonna go ahead and let you guys know exactly how my trading went, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. And so as you guys can see from the screen, it was a green day overall on my account, right? But in terms of how I did trading wise today, I actually did have a red day. And so as you guys can see, I only actively traded TQs today, and I was down $98 on the day, right? So I was down about 1%, unfortunately. And so these were all my filled orders, and I did stop trading at 8:05 today. So definitely took more orders than I would have liked, right? So definitely did over trade today, which led to me being red in my opinion. It took me about an hour and a half to end, down 1%. So definitely could have done a better job of managing my risk. But, as far as how it ended up playing out and why I only focused on TQQQ, well, on the bigger time frames, right? I noticed that we would get rejected by the, SMA line, and then as we would end up falling, we would end up testing support levels, right, and end up correcting ourselves back up to it, right? So once we did push on up and got rejected, right, we did find a support from yesterday that I thought we could potentially test and act as a support right today, and end up gapping back up and correcting ourselves back up to that SMA line. And so as you guys can see, that's exactly what ended up playing out, right? This thing ended up testing the support, right, and ended up pushing up, quite a lot today and filling that gap back up. And so you may be asking yourselves, how was I down, $100 on TQs when this thing ended up pushing? It's because, I was averaging up and sizing up when I shouldn't be, when direction wasn't very clear. So as you guys can see, market opened right around this area, right? And so as soon as the market ended up opening, what did we see? The market ended up pushing up, right? Pulling on back and starting to form these higher highs and higher lows. But direction wasn't very clear in the sense that anytime it would push up, it wouldn't hold very well, right? It would get rejected very aggressively. Then it would push up, get rejected aggressively, push up, right? Get rejected aggressively. And so it's not like it was, just consistently making higher highs and higher lows. It was struggling a lot. And even when it did try to push back up here, right, we were struggling, as you noticed, right, looking back at it on the charts. But as far as what I was doing and where I went wrong, I was, sizing up where I shouldn't be. So as soon as market opened, this thing pushed up, pulled on back, I started buying into TQs, right, and trying to size up. But once this thing would get rejected hard, right, it would cause me to give back profit, and I would size back down. And then, this sell-off happened, and it did make me go from the green to red because I was still holding a quarter of a position size. But once we did start to pick up here, this is where one of my biggest losses actually happened on the day. What did I see? Well, once we did sell off and find a support, right, we ended up pushing up and breaking above the EMA, and I did see us forming these higher highs and higher lows, right, where we would push up, right, and then we pulled on back. And so I thought there was potential to form a new high here. And so as it did bounce and break above the EMA, I fully sized in, but we actually got rejected, right? Had a nice, decent little sell-off, and so I had to cut losses on that trade. And that's where, the biggest loss I took happened. And then as far as, where my other losses were, well, once I saw this thing break above the EMA again, right, without it actually breaking above these resistance levels, I sized back in, right? And, you guys can see how that ended up playing out. It ended up actually selling off. I had to cut losses there. And as you guys can see, that was right around 8 o'clock where I ended up stopping out on my last trade. And so, it's very important to, learn from this mistake. And, what I am learning from it in the sense is that direction was so choppy, right? And I was very hopeful thinking that, this thing was going to just start to pick up and form these higher highs and higher lows exactly how I was expecting it to, right? When in reality, I shouldn't have been sizing up when all of the market pattern, right, as soon as the market opened, was indicating to me that direction wasn't clear. So I have no business sizing up, right? When it made more sense to size up was, later on in the day when we ended up selling off, tested the support. We actually ended up breaking above the EMA, right? And there weren't very much red candles compared to how we were trading earlier on in the day, right? You guys can see so many red candles here. But on the way up here, there were hardly any red candles, which, indicates we were pushing up, and holding. And so as we were pushing up, as you guys can see, we were forming these higher highs, higher lows, and we were bouncing off the EMA, right? Which, as you guys can see, in the earlier part of the day, right, anytime we would break above the EMA, we would struggle to hold, right? We would end up getting rejected. But here you guys can see we would push up, right? Use it as a support, the EMA support, and continue to just surge. And so, you know, just because I thought there was a potential support here doesn't mean it had to happen, right? This thing could have, for all we know, just continued to sell off, broken the support, right? And there would have been a lot of selling pressure, but it's really those who were patient enough to actually wait for this thing to find a support and start to actually reverse, right? And show signs of higher highs and higher lows and show signs of progress, really, right? Where, you know, if they stepped on the gas, they would have done well, right? But me, I was just, you know, so ignorant and trying to average up when I really shouldn't have and had no business to, when direction wasn't very clear, that I ended up biting myself in the butt, right? And I ended up being down 1% on the day. And so, you know, it does suck for me, but I do hope that some of you were able to, you know, go with the flow on TQs and profit on that, because there was definitely, you know, lots of margin to be made on that play. But as far as where the market is now, right, we are a little bit more overbought. And even on the 10-day chart, as I mentioned, right, you guys can see anytime we would break above the SMA, we would get rejected. So we just need to follow up with it and see what happens tomorrow, right? But that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover in today's video. Thank you guys so much for tuning back in. I really do appreciate your support. Other than that, if you guys have any questions, go ahead and drop a comment, and I will be more than happy to answer that myself. But other than that, I hope you guys all have an amazing day, and I will see you guys in tomorrow's recap. Take care.